Welcome to the Gunning Truth with Roni, my Monday reaction video. And Arsenal have beaten Burnley 3-1 in a performance that was a bit up and down, in my opinion. Once again, you look at teams that has just played Champions League football, and the performances sometimes can be wanting, to be honest. And I thought Arsenal played okay for most of the first half. Maybe we should actually give a bit of credit to Burnley. From other games that I've seen, they were very open. They do press high, which is what they did in this game, but other times in their 4-4-2 formation, they were a little bit too open, and less so. They did have two banks of four that was quite deep. I wouldn't say a low block per se, but I thought that they actually performed quite well. And funny enough, they had more opportunities than Sevilla had, so that's actually quite a strange one. Maybe Arsenal pushed a bit more, tried to be a little bit more expansive, even though it didn't come across as such. But obviously Sevilla, they gave absolutely nothing really in the game on Wednesday. And yeah, it was quite interesting to see how Burnley played and the way that they attack as well, because normally it's a 4-4-2 formation where they press high and then they obviously use their wingers. I thought one of their wingers, their left winger, was quite good on the day, quite pacey as well. But yeah, from Arsenal's standpoint, the team, obviously David Raya in goal once again, and obviously there's less and less noise when it comes to the goalkeeping, even though I felt that both goalkeepers has their issues. But obviously it's been a little bit calmer this time around. You could say maybe other than all the issues leading up to Newcastle's goal last week, Raya was maybe at fault from a positioning standpoint for that Newcastle United goal. But there's so many things that you could have equated to that being not the case for last week. Tomiyasu at right back, so we've got quite a few issues now again at fullback and in defence in general. Timber's out for most of the season. You've got Cedric Suarez, who hasn't really been given a look in. Basically played the under 21 game, and then he's been on the bench for Carabao Cup games, and then generally not involved in the squad. And he's actually now sick. So where we could have either given Tomiyasu a bit of a break or play him off the bench. Ben White is now also has a bit of a niggle. It's said to be nothing serious. And then obviously there's no other right back options. The youngsters coming through are not quite doing that well. The under 18s and under 21s are not defending that well. So it's been quite a while since Arsenal had a decent defender coming through. I know Roel Walters, who plays as a centre back or a right back, he's somebody that they are quite keen on, but I quite often see loads of injuries, well, not just injuries, but mistakes from most of Arsenal's young defenders, and that normally happens. But always here and there, you normally have someone that's coming through. Roel Walters, funny enough, was on the bench, so quite a few issues in defence for Arsenal. Obviously, Kivior is somebody that can come in if Saliba or Gabriel needs a rest. He's quite decent, limited in terms of his output from a defensive standpoint. Or let me put it this way: for our passing ability that we would like, and for our defenders to get involved, he's obviously more limited rather than Gabriel Magalhaes and Saliba. But they are obviously playing all the time. Saliba and Gabriel, fantastic centre back partnership. And then obviously Zinchenko, who I thought had a very good game. He played at left back. So this is his type of games where he can really step into midfield when teams are playing quite deep, and he can actually control things from midfield. And then Jorginho, Rice and Havertz again as a midfield three, with Odegaard still injured, Thomas Partey still injured. It sounds like Thomas Partey is going to be injured up until in and around that when they need to go for AFCON duty, and then also is he going to go away? And if he does go away, are Arsenal really looking to sell? There's a bit of noise that Thomas Partey wants to go, but then a lot of people don't understand where it's coming from. People that's, I would say, in the know, they can't understand where those rumors are coming from. So just maybe people putting one and one together, especially with Jorginho doing okay and Declan Rice being so good. But it really shouldn't be about, because those guys are okay and good, that Thomas Partey needs to be sold. However, I'm obviously getting a little bit fed up now with all the injuries. I think we need to move on, but I don't think we're going to have the finance to be able to move on in January, even if he's fit. the teams that could buy him, are they going to pay enough for him? Does he want to go to Saudi Arabia and those type of things? Because that's the only place where enough money will come in order for us to get a really good number 6. That's if Rice is going to continue to be a 8, or are Arsenal then going to go and look to get a 8 rather, and then Declan Rice plays in his preferred 6 position. So headaches in one sense, but the fact that Rice can play both 6 and 8 is actually quite a big thing. And then Havertz again struggling in midfield. I don't want to get too much on him because there's now obviously a new scapegoat. If it's not Nketiah, then it's Havertz or Vieira in this case after he got his red card, which is something that I will get to. Martinelli, Saka, Trossard up front looked really good again. 2 games in a row where they looked really good. Saka providing an assist to Trossard, Trossard scoring, Martinelli also doing well. So the front 3 is fluid, moves around quite a bit, and hopefully Jesus is back. I think he will be after the international break. As well, and then Nketiah, who came off the bench once again, other than his hat-trick, haven't been impressed with him in the last 3 games, other than that hat-trick against Sheffield, so that's a concern that it cannot continue, even though the that upward trajectory should have been the case for Nketiah after the hat-trick. The West Ham game didn't look too good. Newcastle United game not looking too good. And I understand that it's a team thing as well. Do they bring him enough with regards to his strengths? But then again, he's had now 2 opportunities and then coming off the bench after being injured in the previous game against Sevilla. He was now on the bench and wasn't much of an impact, really. I do understand that the game changed with a red card, and that happened quite late as well. So, yeah, so from a team perspective, I thought we did okay. Nothing great. I don't think we were in third gear, and I know we mentioned that quite a bit in Arsenal's relatively comfortable wins this season, that they haven't really needed to go into that next gear. So, when you think about it in terms of that next gear, do you need to contain yourself, especially with the international break coming up? So maybe that is not quite the right thing to say. Maybe it is that just everything didn't click so nicely. That's also part of the reason that maybe the win wasn't as emphatic as we would have liked it to be. And then obviously the game changed again at the back end when Vieira got sent off. It was a red card, a very poor, lackadaisical challenge, which obviously ended up being dangerous and endangering your opponent in that case, and then obviously a red card. So Vieira is now also out, and that's very likely going to be, not very likely, it will be 3 games in a very busy period. I think Arteta mentioned that we have 11 games in December. And also, we're coming back to a 1 or 2 tricky games to end November. Well, maybe just the one tricky game if you think about it. I think there's 3 games to end November. So we've got Brentford away from home. Then we've got the home Champions League game against Lens. And then we've got Wolves at home to end November. That might actually be the end of November or the start of December, I think it is. So that's going to be our 3 games after the international break. Another international break now, the 3rd one. And yeah, Arsenal are looking good. Man City are currently top after their 4-4 draw against Chelsea yesterday. What a crazy game that was. So 28 points for Man City. Arsenal are 3rd, tied with Liverpool. Liverpool have scored more goals than us. They've got plus 17 points goal difference and plus 16 for Arsenal. So it's close. 1 point off top. Just had our first league loss the other day, and Liverpool are looking good as well. You must just give them a bit of credit for the way that they're able to change things around. Obviously, they ended last season well, and Klopp brought in a couple of players, and they are really looking good and dangerous to also compete with us to try to get Manchester City off their throne. Spurs, 2nd consecutive loss for them. They just had now their period of injuries. So when you compare, Arsenal loads of injuries as well. And now Tottenham also loads of injuries. Tottenham 2 losses in a row. Arsenal were unlucky to lose their Premier League undefeated status. And still injuries, had more injuries now this weekend. I know we had Burnley, which should be a comfortable win, but loads of injuries for Arsenal, and Arsenal are 1 point off top with those injuries, and quite a few players are going to come back after the international break, especially with that busy December coming up. So Spurs now in 4th, despite leading the league for quite some time, as well as being undefeated for quite some time. They've now lost 2 in a row. Obviously, Monday's lost to Chelsea, and Saturday lunchtime's lost to Wolves away. And Aston Villa, they are absolutely superb. We are going there early December. I'm very worried about that game. Let me tell you now already. Aston Villa, 25 points after 12 games. They're doing really well at home. They are iffy at times away from home, but they are really looking good at home. They're constantly beating teams comfortably there. So they are going to be very difficult to beat in December. I know we've got Brighton at home as well. So I think it's that period where it's Wolves home, Aston Villa away, and then Brighton at home. So that's going to be a tricky one. And then later on in December, we've got Liverpool away and West Ham at home. So it's going to be a very tricky December. Hopefully we can get through November with Brentford away. That's going to be tricky as well because we're coming back after the international break. I know we beat Brentford in the Carabao Cup there, but they are good at home. I know they comfortably lost to Liverpool this past weekend. So Arsenal are still looking good. We're not playing at our full tilt as yet. I'm hoping that the back end of this coming season that we are able to play at full tilt, expansive football, and still being able to defend. It's going to be tricky because last season Arsenal were very expansive, gave one or two, well, quite a few opportunities to the opposition while being that expansive, and their mistakes, and conceded quite a bit of goals. Whereas this season, the XG of the opposition is low. They don't get much into our box. There's not loads of opportunities for the opposition, and Arsenal are defending better, but we're not scoring as much goals, and we are not free-flowing. So it's a bit of a change when it comes to Arsenal. So we'll see how it goes after this international break. Quite a few players are actually not going on international break. I think there's about 3 players that have niggles that the international teams ask them to come. So the likes of Odegaard, I know Thomas Partey won't go. Trossard, Jorginho, Tomiyasu all have niggles, all selected for their national team, so we'll see if they end up playing. Odegaard, who hasn't played in a while, has been selected for the Norwegian team, but we'll see if he goes. Jesus as well, been selected for Brazil, so it's going to be interesting to see if are they going or not going to go play for the international team. So that's the current state of the Arsenal. 2-week break now, and then we play Brentford away. Pretty soon Man City and Liverpool have to meet as well. Liverpool have to play Arsenal in December. I think Tottenham are also going to be playing Man City at the Etihad as well. So there's some interesting games coming up in the near future. I think Tottenham are also playing Aston Villa, quite possibly next. That will be at the Tottenham Stadium. So we see how that goes. Come on, you Gunners!
Hate it.